Hi everyone, welcome to today's teachable webinar on top 5 safe distancing brain boost activities in the classroom. My name is Mike Smith. I am the subject matter expert here at School Specialty for Physical Education, Health, and Wellness, and I'm excited to be here to share with you today. Some learning objectives before we get started are, number one, I'd like the participants to be able to describe the importance of why children need to be physically active as part of their daily life. Number two, I want participants to be able to experience activities and strategies to incorporate active movement into the classroom while keeping physical and safe distancing in mind. And number three, I want participants to learn how to evaluate when it is appropriate to add active movement for your students. Let's talk about the importance of physical activity for children and why it's important. You can see here from this photo that these students are engaged in learning with their teacher. They have their pencils out, their papers, and some books open, and they're significantly engaged with their teacher, having some fun, but also using a tremendous amount of brain power by concentrating and being engaged. You can also see this student is at home doing some online learning, and again, she's engaged with her teacher as well through a computer and a camera, and you can see that her hand is raised as well. With schools changing the way they operate, and how many students they have in their class this upcoming school year, we're going to see students in their classrooms and in their desks for longer periods of time. And with that, we're going to see many students bored and needing a change of pace or a change of environment or even a break. And I would really encourage you to start thinking about how you can add some brain boost activities in your classroom. I think it's important to talk about the science behind the TED Talks 18-minute rule. I don't know if you have ever read this article, but I have the link here for you. I've provided the link, and it's on LinkedIn. And if you just Google the science of the 18-minute rule for TED Talks, that you'll be able to find this article. But what's interesting about this article as adults is that the organizers of TED Talks have realized that it doesn't take a scientist to know that you cannot inspire people if you put them to sleep. But scientists are beginning to identify how long most people can pay attention before they tune out. The range seems to be in the area of 10 to 18 minutes. TED organizers have reached the conclusion that 18 minutes works best. So no matter how famous or how influential you are, if you do a TED Talk, you're going to be yanked off the stage in 18 minutes. Well, how is that important for us as educators? Well, I think it's important to know that if they're doing this research for adults and they're saying that the average attention span is 18 minutes, then we're working with 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, and their attention span is definitely going to be less. So it's important that we remember that when we're teaching our academic content, that we're not spending too long pushing all that material on them without giving them an opportunity to have a change of pace. And maybe that is just taking a brain boost or doing an activity. I do think it's important that some of these activities do kind of push a reset button for kids and their attention span. And kids really are going to need it. And they're going to start to show you that they need it because they are going to start slouching in their desk and they're going to start getting fidgety and antsy. And so maybe that could be your sign that it's time for the students to kind of have a little reset. Because even as adults, we know that we need that as well. There has been a tremendous amount of evidence on physical activity and academic performance and how it really does show that moving and activity can really increase academic performance. You know, back in the 1960s, there was hardly any research at all about physical activity and academic performance. But as we've gone through the years, you can see more and more and more and more. This graph is showing all of the different published articles that are happening that are showing that academic performance can increase with some physical activity. So again, just something to think about. Let's dive into our first activity called Spell Your Name Workout. Now, what's interesting about this activity is I have taught for about 24 years. Mostly I taught at elementary level, but the last 4 years I actually taught at the university level. And many of my classes were about 25 to 30 students. and they were all education majors. And what was interesting was the class was about an hour and a half, and I would start to notice that my students would just to kind of start to zone out. So I always would try to add some brain boosts and some different activities to kind of get them up and moving. And this is one that I would share with them. Again, it's called Spell Your Name Workout. So basically what you're gonna do is you can create your own. So here's 3 examples. This one here on the left, here you'll see it says spell your name workout, and A is 50 jumping jacks, B is 20 crunches, C is 30 squats. And again, you can just kind of create your own exercises to go along with each letter. And so this is an example, and here's another one here that I found that I really like. It's a little bit cleaner. And again, you can see that A equals 50 jumping jacks, B equals 20 crunches, and so on and so forth. And then again, one of the other ones that I used, this one is really colorful. Again, easy to use for my lower grades. Could really use this and read this. And again, each letter corresponds to an activity. So what I would do is I'd say, all right, everybody stand up, find your own space. And most of them obviously were spaced out at their desks. And so I'd have them put their backpacks or things under their desk, or if they had any things around them, I'd kind of have them move them so it was safe. And I would put on a little song and I'd say, okay, you are going to spell your first and last name, and you're going to do these activities. So obviously my name was Mike, so my first activity would be M. So I'd have to do 3 squat jumps. And then when I was done with that, I would go to I, and I would do 10 side lunges. And then when I was done with that, I would do K, and I would do 5 calf raises. And finishing it off with an E, I'd do 5 crunches. And again, if I have music going quietly, obviously in the classroom, because there's probably other classes around you, it just adds a little bit of fun. If you think about yourself as an adult when you go on a walk, or maybe you're in a car, you're listening to music, and kind of change the energy a little bit. So sometimes I'll just put on a little fun, peppy song and let the kids go at it with this. Sometimes I'll do first names only. Sometimes I'll do last names. Sometimes I'll do middle names. Sometimes I'll do first and last names, depending on how much time I have and how much activity I want the students to do. So again, this activity was called Spell Your Name Workout. Again, a kind of a fun one. My number 2 activity that I would like to share with you today is called Odd or Even. This activity actually has an interesting story. So when I was teaching at the elementary level, I had a first grade teacher come to my classroom. And again, I was a physical education teacher at the elementary level for many, many years. And I really liked to integrate math and literacy and reading into my classroom, and really shared with my teachers how they could integrate movement within their classroom. So it was kind of this teamwork kind of thing where we would really work together to support each other. And so this teacher had come to me, her name was Stacy Justice, and she had said, oh my gosh, Mike, these first graders are not having very much success with their odd and even numbers. And so one of the things I said is, Stacy, I'll figure this out. I'll come up with an activity. And so I used to do this in my class. And so it's a great activity that you can do actually in your classroom. And so basically how it works is this: you can basically post this up on your wall. So if you have a projector, post this up so everybody in the class can see it. If you don't have a projector, you can use a whiteboard. And again, just copy exactly what you see: round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4, round 5. And O stands for odd, E stands for even. And basically, the directions are below. You can play this game with a partner. So each person can have a partner, and you can give them a dice, and they can play with a partner somewhere in the classroom, or you can just play it as a whole class where everybody is by their desk and they're spaced out safely in their own space. If you're going to play it as a class, basically what's going to happen is you're going to roll the dice 2 times and have the students add, subtract, or multiply the 2 numbers together. So for example, if you're like a lower grade teacher, like first or second or kindergarten, maybe you want to do addition or subtraction. So for example, if I rolled a 5 and a 2, because I remember I'm rolling the dice 2 times. If I roll a 5 and a 2, 5 plus 2 is 7. So obviously have your students kind of figure that out, do the math problem in their head. Then the students have to tell you if that number is odd or even. So obviously 7 is an odd number. And so what they have to do on round 1 is they're going to do cross jacks. That's the activity that they're going to do. If on round 1 the answer happened to be 5 plus 1, that would be equal 6. Obviously that's an even number. On round 1 they would have to slide 4 times around their desk. So whether if the number is odd or even, that's how they know what exercise to do for each round. So now we're on to round 2. Again, as a class we play, you could have a kid call on a kid, say, Johnny, come on up. Johnny rolls the dice 1 time. Have another student roll it. Susie rolls the dice. So Johnny rolled a 6 and Susie rolled a 5. Well, you could, if they're older, like 4th and 5th graders, maybe you're wanting them to work on their multiplication. 5 times 6 equals 30. And we know that that is an even number. So now we're on round 2. And so we go to E for even. And now they have to do a 1-arm extension for 30 seconds. So again, that is kind of how the game works. So round 3, again, you play again, pick 2 new kids, roll the dice. 1 rolls a 2, 1 rolls a 6. 6 times 2 is 12. And so now that is a even number. They go here, up. E stands for even. They're going to do 22 ski jumpers. And so again, you just play rounds 1 through 5, and it's kind of a fun activity that the students can use their math, their reading, their literacy, their multiplication, and again, it's a great brain boost, brain break for kids, and they love it. Let's look at how the exercises work. So here is what cross jacks look like. So when I was teaching, I always used to make up exercises. Cross jacks is a great exercise because it's very similar to jumping jacks, but instead the students are actually having to cross their arms and their legs by crossing the midline. And this can be very difficult for kids, and it's really great for them to be able to learn how to cross the midline and practice those kind of activities. So check out cross jacks. Again, arms and legs are kind of crossing. That can take some time for kids to learn, but again, it's great fun. Another activity as part of odd and even was 1-arm extensions. Again, you're in the push-up position. Students are just reaching for the sky. We call this an upright support. So they're basically having to support their body weight in the upright support. And so that's called a 1-arm extension. Again, kids love that. The next activity as part of this game with odd and even is called ski jumpers. Basically, I just have my students pretend there's an imaginary line and they're jumping back and forth across the line. We call those ski jumpers. The last activity as part of this activity is called rockets. You can see that rockets they're in the squat position. I always let my students go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off, and then they jump to the moon. Again, these are called rockets. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and blast off. Okay, so those are rockets. So those are all the activities that go along with odd and even. Again, super fun game. Kids will love it. Gives them opportunity to move and be active, but you're also integrating some literacy and some math. The third activity I'd like to share with you out of my top 5 activities is called Lucky Roll. So again, this is a modified game or activity that I came up with. I used to do a lot of activities with dice and fitness because it was a great way to get big class sizes kind of active and moving and learning how to work together. Again, I've modified this for the classroom, but basically you can, again, project this up on the wall so that all the students can see. If you have a projector and a screen, so if they're at their desk, they can do this. If you don't have a projector, again, you can use a whiteboard, a chalkboard. You can get a piece of chart paper and draw it out. So again, there's lots of different options. But basically the activity is this. For the directions, you as the teacher are going to roll the dice 1 time. Now, again, you can see it could be a student, so you can pick a student to do this as well. Once they roll the dice, or you roll the dice, you're going to match the number to this exercise. So have the students match the number. So for example, if I rolled a 2, then the students have to find the number 2, and that equals swimmers. Well, how many times do they have to do the swimmers? How many exercises did they do? Well, that's where the third part of the directions come in, and that is where you're actually going to roll the dice 2 more times and multiply or add them together to find out how many times to do the exercise. So for example, if I rolled the dice a 4 and then I rolled a 5, 5 times 4 is 20. So that means they have to do 20 exercises. And remember, it was a 2, so a 2 was swimmer. So they're going to have to do 20 swimmers. So again, pick another kid, or you as a teacher can roll a dice and play as many rounds as you'd like. Maybe you want to do 5 rounds for the day. Maybe you only want to do a couple minute brain break or brain boost. Even 2 to 3 minutes of this is super fun for kids. You could do 5 or 6 rounds. So roll the dice again. This time you rolled a 5. So the students have to match a 5, which is here. It says do your favorite stretch. And now, again, remember, how long do the kids do that activity? Well, you're going to have to roll the dice 2 more times, and you can either multiply and add. So let's say I rolled a 4 and then I rolled a 5, but I wanted to add them up. 4 plus 5 is 9. So now the students will do their favorite stretch for 9 seconds. So again, it's some literacy, some math, some matching, and again, some activity to get kids up and moving. Let's look at some of the activities for Lucky Roll. So here we are, we have cross jacks. Again, oh, sorry, we're on swimmers. Again, this is an activity I made up. It's called a swimmer. So again, they're in the upright support or the push-up position. And basically what they're doing is they're using their arms to pretend like they're going swimming. So let's check it out again. Okay, call that swimmers. Kids really like this activity. The next activity is called cross crawls. And so they're taking their elbow and touching it to their opposite knee. Again, this is very difficult for kids because they're having to cross that midline. And so give them the opportunity to practice this. Those are called cross crawls. And lastly is cross jacks. And somehow this got out of order, but that's okay. And you've seen cross jacks from the previous activity. So these numbers on the bottom here that you'll see, number 1, cross jacks matches the dice number 1. Number 2 is swimmers. Number 3 is cross jacks. So again, they match so you can see the exercises. Number 4 on the list was crab kicks. Let's see what this activity is. So again, they're in the crab walk position, and I just have them supporting their body weight, and they're just kicking their leg one at a time. We call these crab kicks. Kids really like these. Good fun. There is no number 5 because remember that was do your own favorite stretch, and so that could be really anything that the kids can come up with or you as the teacher can. And number 6 on the dice chart was something called body squats. And basically what they're doing is their students are feet are shoulder width apart, and they're doing body squats. Going down and back up, like almost like they're sitting on a chair. A lot of times I'll even have them do this with their chair behind them, and I'll have them touch their tushy to their chair. So again, they like that. Okay, that activity was called Lucky Roll. That was number 3. Moving on, number 4 on my list is Super Stretch or a yoga app. I found Super Stretch quite a few years ago, and it's actually one of my favorite apps. It's a free app that you can download, and it is a yoga kind of a calming, stretching kind of app. I think what's important to remember as a classroom teacher is sometimes we think that our students always need physical activity, when sometimes maybe what they need is something calming. And so maybe like if the students came back in from recess and they were really, really amped up, or they had done a bunch of like a big presentation or a music program, and they came back and they were really wound up and you needed to get back into some learning, putting on a yoga app or doing some stretching and some calming kind of breathing and stretching can really make a difference. I love this one called Super Stretch because it had a lot of different fun characters for the students to follow along. And again, it's free and you can project that up on your screen. And if you don't have, again, a projector, you can find some different stretches and lead your students in some of these different kinds of poses, and kids really like them. So again, number 4 on our list is Super Stretch or a yoga app. Number 5 on my list, rounding it out, is our spelling word and math fact fitness. I love this one because I used to share this with my college students because many of them would go into classrooms and student teaching, and so they were doing some math facts and some spelling words and some different things, and they were working with students and they were just trying to figure out ways to motivate them. And I said, get them up and do some of these things that you're doing with them sitting, but have them do it standing by doing some activity. And so that really started to click because the students really dove in to that and really loved the opportunity to learn by actually moving. So let's check out how this works. So spelling facts. The first one I'm going to show you is basically what we're going to be doing is it's cross crawls, I believe. Let's check out the video. Oh, nope, cross jacks, my apologies. So you can't hear the video, but basically what I'm saying is you as a teacher are going to pick a word. So the word that I picked for this video was the word house. So a lot of times I tell my students, I'd say, okay, we're going to have a big spelling test today or tomorrow. Let's practice some of our spelling words. Who can give me one of our spelling words? And so the students would raise their hand. And so if a student said one of their words was house, I said, okay, everybody spread out, find your own safe space. Let's spell the word house. And so check out the video. I'll do it with you. Here we go. Ready? And I'd have all my students do this together. Here we go. Ready? H-O-U-S-E, and squat it out, house. Okay. So again, you could do that with lots of different spelling words. And I always had them squat it out at the end and say the word. So again, that was what we called spelling fitness. So I'd pick another student, come up with another word. Maybe the word is boost. Here we go, class. Ready? B-O-O-S-T, boost. So again, spelling fitness. Math fact fitness is a little bit different. So you can see here in this video, I'm doing cross crawls. So how this would work is maybe you're doing some skip counting with your little ones, or maybe with your older grades, you're doing some multiplication facts. You can have your kids do that by doing these activities. So if we're going to do skip counting, here we go. First grade friends, everybody stand up, find your own safe space. Ready? 2, 4, 6, 8. And again, they're doing activity to learn those the concepts that you're trying to teach. If you're with older kids and you're doing multiplication facts, here we go. 5th graders, stand up, spread out. Here we go. Good luck. 5, 10, 15, 20. I always like to do throw like a curveball and throw 9s. See if I remember it. 9, 18, 27, 36. So again, you can change it up, and I'll come up with all kinds of different activities and exercises, but I'll add spelling words and math facts. And again, the sky's the limit with these. You can really add on to this and do that. But it's really the piece of you're doing this academic content anyway with the students, and so a lot of times they're just sitting at their desk and they're repeating these. Why not have them stand up and do some kind of activity or movement with it? And I think that's important, because it'll give kids the opportunity to kind of breathe and move and have a little brain boost. Okay. Now, let's talk about some calming ideas after activity. I think one of the things that I hear a lot from teachers is, well, Mike, how do I get my students to calm down after activity? Because when I get them exercising or doing activity, and I need to get them back engaged in the classroom, it can be very difficult. So how do I do that? Well, let's talk about a couple ideas. I have 3 of them for you. One's called the breathing ball. which actually my kindergarten teacher shared with me. One's called the hookup, which has been around for years and years. Another one is called rainbow breaths. So let's look at those. So the breathing ball. These are very inexpensive. We do sell these at school specialty. And it's basically a ball that expands and contracts. And we talk about how it's just like our lungs. So what I have the students do is after activity, I'll have them all spread out and I'll have them follow the breathing ball. And when the ball goes out, they're gonna breathe in and they're gonna hold. And when the ball contracts, they're gonna push out that air. Let's check it out. Hold and breathe out. Breathe in, hold, and breathe out. And you can see when I'm doing this, I'm going in a very slow motion direction with the ball, because what happens is kids don't have the skills to know how to breathe slowly. They just breathe really fast, in and out, in and out, and out. And so with this breathing ball, they could really just kind of follow the visual aspect of it. So again, a great tool. It's called the breathing ball. The hookup. This has been around for years. I have to give credit, I think, to my student teacher, or my cooperating teacher 25 years ago taught me this. And I know somewhere out there, there's some research on this. But basically what you're doing is the students are going to cross the midline with their arms, cross the midline with their feet, and they're going to close their eyes and take a couple big breaths in. And this definitely can reset a lot of your students. If they're upset, I've used this for students who are upset, who are angry, who need a moment. I've used it for after activities to kind of get kids to calm down. So check it out. It's called the hookup. Hands out, cross, flip them. Show you again. Hands out, cross, flip them. And I go really slow. First time, I have them tuck them under. Now they cross their feet, and they're going to take a big breath in and a big breath out. Let's check that out again. Hands cross, flip them, cross, flip them, tuck them under, cross your feet, big breath in, blow it out. Big breath in, blow it out. And that is called a hookup. The last activity that I think is a great idea for kind of calming some students after activity is called rainbow breaths. And I don't have a video for this, but you can see in this photo, whoops, sorry. You can see in this photo here, this teacher is leading them in rainbow breaths. And I actually had a kindergarten teacher teach me this. And so basically what they do is they reach to the sky and they blow it out, and then they extend their arms out and back down to their legs. So again, they reach to the sky, take breath in, blow it out, and their arms go out and down to the legs. And she does this several times, and it's called rainbow breaths. And again, it's a great way to get kids kind of calm and back after an activity. So again, try those 3 tools. Okay, some recommendations. Let's wrap up here. Recommendations: make physical activity part of your daily routine. Kids really need a reset at times, and doing a brain boost can really do that. Make physical activity a positive experience for children, and explain why it is important. We know why as adults it's important, because it can provide a lot of great things for us as adults, but explain to kids why activity can be a positive experience for them. When doing activities or brain boosts, remember, some is good, 2 to 3 minutes is good. More is better, 5 to 10 minutes. And again, you can extend them kind of how it works for you in your classroom. And a little bit is better than nothing. Even if you did 30 seconds to a minute of activity, that is better than nothing, because your students are really going to lose focus and need that opportunity to move. And last, please, please, please do not be afraid. And I put a little smiley face. Kids need to move, but have a plan to transition them back into academics. It is really important that you know that I think many teachers are afraid to do brain boost and brain breaks, because for fear of losing their kids. And in actuality, kids really need it. It's just coming up with those transitions and routines to kind of get them back into those academics. As always, thank you for your time, and I hope you have a great day.